Greetings, everybody. On the main Rewell U channel, I did a video on using the Wim Hof method for post-operative pain. And here I'd like to just go more in depth into some of the stuff that I was talking about there and some of the other methods that I've been using. This may be a bit of a longer video, but I hope that by the end of it, you will leave with some new tools, some new thoughts about the nature of pain. My name is Kenton Whitman, and I believe in you. This has been an interesting moment of my life. The surgery was about a week ago, and I've been able to experience some significant lessons regarding pain. And at the same time, I have had a very sad falling out with a dear friend of mine. And that has been causing emotional pain and emotional stress. And so when I talk about pain today, I'm going to be talking about more than just physical pain or just the pain that you experience after an operation or after an injury. I'm also talking about the very concept of pain and what that can do to us and how we can hopefully learn to transform it. I'll begin with an update on the Wim Hof method. If you didn't see that other video, I've been using Wim's breathing technique, and I had broken it down. There's basically 3 sections to the breathing technique. There's the inhale, exhales, and then there's the breathing out, and there's a retention. And then there's a breathing in, and then there's a shorter retention. And then you start that cycle over again. And I think the thing that's really helped has been what I've been terming some self-hypnosis that I do in part 2 and 3 of the breathing cycle. And what I was doing is telling myself, okay, during the 3rd section, you breathe in and there's a short retention. And for a lot of people that do that, your head goes a little bit swimmy. You might see some lights and you might feel like fainting. The world can kind of close in on you for a moment. I found that during that period, there was no sensation of pain. This is even if I'm experiencing some pretty significant pain during the night. And I began calling that the no pain state. It lasts only 10, 20 seconds probably, so it feels a little bit timeless. But right away I started wondering, could I hypnotize myself, convince myself that the power of that no pain state would become longer term. And so what I would say to myself, just as I was approaching that last inhale and retention, is I would say to myself, Kenton, your doctor told you that when you go in and when you enter this no pain state, that no pain state will enter into your shoulder and the effects of it will act as an analgesic for the next 2 to 3 days. So essentially you'll feel no pain for the next 2 to 3 days. And I was experimenting with this because I've never really experimented with any kind of self-hypnosis because I had read about it in a book. And it was saying that when we do mindfulness exercises or we try to shift our awareness away, distract ourselves from the pain, for instance, that helps in that moment. But it doesn't decrease pain an hour later or 2 hours later the next day. When I went in on day 3 to see the doctor, and I was able to report that I was feeling absolutely no pain and not on any drugs. And he at least said for the operation that I had that is highly unusual, and that he hadn't actually experienced that before, which led me to believe that perhaps that self-hypnosis was working. Of course, with all these experiments, I wasn't able to have an alternate Kenton who did not do the Wim Hof breathing and the self-hypnosis, so I don't actually know if it worked or not. But if anybody else experiments with it, please share in the comments. A couple of you have brought up something that I think is very important. And if you are familiar with my other videos on the Rewild You channel, you can see me going into situations usually of cold or nettles, other pain experiences, and going into the pain. And so up until now, that's really been my go-to, and the thing that I've experimented with the most is going into that pain. If I take some snow into my hand and I hold it there is a sensation. And that sensation, I can easily beat. Dang, that is cold. And what I did there is I took the sensation and I added resistance to it. Now, if I stop and I hold the snow and I just feel the sensation itself, I might notice that it has a brightness to it, and it has an intensity, but it's really not even unpleasant. It's just a strong sensation. And so there, just a sensation. Add resistance. Oh my gosh, this is cold. And again, I just want to release it. So going into sensation has been my go-to. And I think somebody mentioned the Sedona method, and perhaps, I'm not familiar with that, but other methods that have urged us to experience the sensation itself. Now, I have never really had chronic pain at this level before. And by chronic, I just mean long-lasting pain. Of course, this is relatively short, only a week. I know people are experiencing much vaster lengths of pain, but still, for me, this is going on, and even though during the day, right now, I feel relatively pain-free, at night, it's been creeping up on me in a pretty big way. And so at night, I'm getting to experience that onslaught of pain. And going into it was not really doing it for me. Right now, my working thought, hypothesis, is that releasing into something works well for me personally if it's a shorter term thing. I can trick my mind into saying the short term thing, oddly, I think of it as being, this is just going to be forever. I settle into it, and then I'm fine with it. But the longer term has asked me to explore some other things. And of course, pain at night often equates with less sleep. And then add what I was explaining about my falling out with my friend, that's added emotional stress to my pot. So the result is that I'm really getting a chance to see that pain is not just happening here. It's happening here. It's happening here. Because here's something that's very interesting. I was feeling really good at night, pretty pain-free, until this instance with my friend. And at that point, the pain became much more intense at night. So, what that's telling me, we all know this, I know this, but knowing is different than actually experiencing it. And here I'm getting to experience it and have it reinforced. That our emotional state, our mood, our state of mindfulness, our diet, all these things tie together and make us an organic whole. If I separate out the pain and so easy just to take a pill for it, then I'm missing something here in this whole system that helps me to better understand who I am. One of the next videos that I'm going to be putting out on this channel is called the Dancing Monkey Meditation. And it will go at the thing that I'm about to explain from a slightly different angle. But as I have tried to move my mind away from the pain, as I have been trying to navigate the emotional pain of this experience with my friend, I've noticed very strongly that here's my mind, and it may be in a nice resting state of mindfulness, but then there is something that begins to lure it away. When pain is a very easy example. That pain, it serves as a lure. It says, look over here. And once I look over there at the pain, let's say I'm laying in bed, I'm in a state of just nice softness, and then there's a little beep, beep, beep. Look over here. If I can keep my mind in that softness, that will fade away. But if I look over there, then it starts to pull a little bit harder. It says, come in here, come in here. And it pulls me in. And then after it pulls me in, I get mired. That's the third stage. Bogged down, stuck in the mud of it. And then pretty soon, my mind has fully turned on to the pain. And I'm stuck in there. With the emotional pain, often, well, I just did that video on storytelling. Often in a situation like mine, the mind will begin to be lured into storytelling. Here I am, laying in bed with a calm, peaceful mind, and then comes that lure. Look over here. What did that friend say? How did you respond? What if tomorrow, right? Now the lure has taken and I'm being pulled in. My mind starts to tell the stories. And before long, I'm mired. I'm bogged down in there. I'm lost in the stories. And I'm experiencing a state of stress throughout my body, throughout my mind. Because my mind has been lured into this story and then into that emotional pain. There's a simple method that I've been using that really helps me to bring my mind away from that storytelling of all the things that my friend did wrong, or I did wrong, or this or that, and away from that beckons, that lure of the pain in my shoulder. And I'm going to give two versions of this. One for people that have a personal God or deity. One for people who are much more scientific minded and do not have a personal God or deity. Let me begin with the scientific minded. So here, I'm noticing that the core problem, and this goes for either version of the method, the core problem is that my mind is not under my control. It is going here, it is going there. It's like a little puppy following candies and toys this way and that. Or like if you've ever seen a cat with a laser. Zzz. And my mind has almost no choice but to follow that laser here and there and everywhere. And so there I am, lost, pulled, towed, lured, mired down. With this kind of monkey mind, my mind has no control. I have no control or where my mind points. Okay, back to the scientific-minded approach. All I do is I'm going to call my attention to a thing. And what's worked very well for me is shapes. So in one room in the house, there's wood on the ceiling and there's knots. And in another room in my house, there's those kind of cheap cardboardy tile things. But the cardboardy tiles actually work great for me because there's a texture up there. There's all kinds of shapes in that texture. And so I look up and I find one shape and I stay with that shape for one breath. And I just look at it. And then, because my mind right now, it wants to be pulled and lured, I allow it to become pulled and lured to another shape. Sometimes the shapes just are abstract. Other times I'll see a girl sitting on a log. I'll see a dragon's head. I'll see a ship sailing on the sea. And I let my mind go from one thing to another. It may seem like I'm just off in fantasy land here, but I'm actually training my mind to be under my control because I'm telling it, go here, and then go here, and then go here. And I'm having enough discipline that I'm shifting each time to a new place. By shifting it and repeatedly training myself to come back to a new thing, a new thing, a new thing, then when I'm laying here in bed and I start to get lured here towards this pain, I have this training behind me that I can say, bring my mind over to that. Bring my mind over to that. For me, the big problem with this technique has been that it's very dark in my room at night. And so I began training myself with these shapes. And at night, I can't see any of these shapes, so my eyes don't have anything to go to. I've slowly been able to start to train my mind into just visualizing things. So banana, apple, orange. It works best for me to stay within groups of things, and then I might move to vehicles, a ship, motorcycle, bicycle. But the visual still works better. So that's why at night I've had a lot more trouble because my mind gets lured over here. I try to call it to this, but I'm having to use mental constructs instead of actual visual input. And that's been tougher for me. However, it is possible, and I'm seeing this, to train our minds in either way. And if we train ourselves with visual input or any auditory input, and we train ourselves to do this with concepts or ideas or visuals in our head, then we're going to have this advantage of having something that we can use anywhere, anytime. The more I do this, the more I find that my mind is going where I want it to go. I'm still very imperfect at it, but to me it seems very, very promising. And if any of you explore it, I would love to hear what you find. Now, if you have a personal deity, there's another version of this, which I have found works really, really well. And that is to call yourself to that deity and go into a state of bhakti or love for that deity. So my mind begins to get pulled towards the pain, then I can close my eyes. I'll use the word God, choose universe, whatever it is to you that you identify with, and feel awe, love, respect, whatever it is that you feel towards that divinity, and immerse yourself in that. the more we do that, the more we train ourselves into that love state or that bhakti state, the more when we go into it, it overwhelms all else. And there's great, great power in that, in learning to discipline our minds away from just being pulled this way and that. We can always come back to that love state. When we're in that love state, we're often in our best self state. Those have been the ups and downs of my experience thus far. There have been many downs because it's been a hard time, especially over the last few days. And those downs are the best training ground. Just last night, with the wise words of another friend who called me to love and compassion, I came into a state of love for that friend that he and I were at each other a little bit. And I'm continually surprised on this spiritual journey, if I may call it that no matter how far along I can be and how much I might imagine myself to be spiritually evolved, still, the basic things of life are powerful. They can really affect us. And I think for me, I would never want to move beyond that. I think it's essential that we're feeling beings, that we experience this life. And that's sadness as well as happiness. It's joy and it's tears. I'm very thankful that you are all on this journey with me. This this YouTube channel was just launched a short while ago, and already so many people here subscribe, so many amazing comments, so many people sharing. I'm beyond grateful. As you probably know, I am continuing on this mission to make this more and more what I'm able to do full time, to really devote myself to these videos. If you've considered becoming a patron on Patreon, I would love to have you stand beside me. Every person that becomes a patron makes a huge difference in my life. It brings me closer and closer to being able to devote myself to this more fully. My gratitude to all of you who are here on this channel, making it what it is, commenting, sharing. In the comments below, please share your thoughts, the challenges you have faced, and if you've experimented with any of these methods, the Bhakti, the turning your mind away from, turning your mind to. Have you been able to try it with longer-term chronic pain? These are things that we all are bound to deal with at some point in our lives. So by sharing, we can help all of ourselves to be more fully present in life and maybe to feel more and suffer less. Thank you for watching.